Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. What would it be like to compete in archery at a high level? Well, we're going to find out today with our guest. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm your host today on Archery Talk 101. And we have Matt on the show here for us or with us today. So Matt, introduce yourself and let everybody know something about you.
Cool. Hey, Roy, thanks for having me on. I am Matt Yacca. I am, my name's funny in and of itself, but everyone calls me Matty. I shoot for Hoyt. I'm a barebow shooter. Also a longbow and, just traditional archer in general. I've been for years. I'm from Staten Island, New York. It's where I was born and raised. It's a suburb of Manhattan, New York City. It's one of the boroughs of New York City. I moved out to Colorado here about 27 years ago. I've been shooting my whole life. So I grew up shooting in New York. We'd go out to a little public park that was out there and set up a target. And from when I was 5 years old, I started shooting, a little recurve and then to a little compound bow. And then of course, through my teen years into the 90s, I was shooting compound bows. And I gave up compound bows completely in around the year 2001, 2002, and went full into traditional archery. I had dabbled with longbows and recurves prior to giving up compound bows prior to that. So in the late 1900s. That sounds funny to say too, in the late 1900s. Anyway, and then anyway, I went full traditional around 2001, 2002, and I just wanted to take my competing and competition. I was shooting pretty well, in the last 5 or 6 years, and I wanted to up it a bit. So I got my coaching certification through NTS or whatever, and just truly learned how the mechanics of the shot, how to shoot correctly, how to put it all together. And I started Olympic recurve around 2017, and then I picked up barebow about a year later, and am now a high-level barebow competitor. I shoot for Hoyt. I've won some stuff. I do pretty good, and yeah, I'm just having a good time with it. It's great. Archery, I wish could be a career, but it's just not. At least at what we do in barebow and even Olympic recurve, anything in the U.S. is really not a career unless you're in the compound world. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Bobby Weisinger said, "My boy," I commented.
Yeah, Robbie's like my son, the son I never had.
Yeah, you never know who's going to comment on the group, because we go live in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. So that's an advantage. They can comment and we can talk back and forth in there. And I like to pass information back and forth. And it's a kind of a close community, because what I'm finding is, like, if you got a bow in your hand, you're an instant friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely,
that's a connection we all have, and I think it's kind of cool that we can do that. And
I agree. Yes. Yeah.
So what got you started in archery?
In archery in general, my dad and my uncles would go out shooting, again, like back in New York City, and we had this public park, and they would go, and I would want to go with them, and they'd be like, no, you can't go, you can't come, you're too little, this is for the, for us, the big kids, whatever. And they would kind of not push me away, but they would just, I don't think they wanted me around, right? So I don't, I think they didn't want to deal with a little kid running around. That's how I was probably pretty hyperactive when I was a child. And my dad would be like, no, just me and your uncles, and my brother would get to go. And that just kind of pissed me off. Like, I was just like, I want to go too. I want to shoot. I want to be part of this. And my dad would, he would just say no, like essentially no. And you would think, as a, these days, if my little kid was like, yeah, I want to go shoot, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. That's what I want. But I think that someone telling me, just like any other, you tell an adult, no, you can't have that, or no, that's not for you, or no, then it just kind of creates more of a drive, I think. And I think that's what it did for me. I think it created more of a drive to want to do it and be part of it than maybe having me along. Like, I think that drive just became something innate in me that I was like, I want it for myself now. And so, you know, as a little kid, I remember I probably got my first bow at, I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And, you know, he would take me once in a while. They would take me once in a while to go shoot. And as we were shooting at those round, they were like, I think they were just stuffed with straw or hay on the inside, but burlap on the outside. And they were stitched, these round bales. I haven't seen one in a long time, and someone posted a picture of one yesterday, and I was like, holy smokes, I remember those types of targets when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Saunders Archery makes those great big, about 4 foot
the
round bales.
yeah,
And they're made from Indian grasses grown here in
yes,
Nebraska.
yeah, and they're covered in some kind of burlap, or you know, some kind of, I don't know what it is. Anyway, and then as I got older, I wanted to keep shooting. I really just enjoyed shooting, right up, you know, as I was a little kid. And then as I worked into my teen years, I had a cousin who lived in New Jersey, and my uncle, where we hunted. I wanted to kind of emulate them, and I wanted to be part of that. And so I started hunting around 14, 15 years old, and big into compound bows. I had, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 compound bows throughout those years, from Oneida Eagles to Hoyts to PSEs, things of that nature. And I gave that up. Like, I knew there was something about archery that I just hadn't fulfilled, and it was finding longbows and recurves. And in those later years, I was still in my 20s. Paul Bruner had Screaming Eagle Archery out of Montana. Excuse me, I think was the little company he had. And if you guys know Paul, I mean, he goes by Too Short, and he's very big in the traditional archery world. Anyway, friend of the Wenzel brothers. And I remember getting a catalog in the mail. It probably came just as like a spam, or in the actual mail we're talking here. It probably came through as just like bulk mail. But it was one of their catalogs. It was for his company, and he would sell staves, like wood Osage staves, and he would sell bow blanks, and they would sell, you know, maybe some longbows and recurves of what kind, I don't recall. It's back in the early part of the 90s. And I knew it's something I wanted to do. And I knew my dad had an old Ben Pearson recurve that was right-handed. It was in our basement for years. And I was like, well, I'm going to go shoot that thing. And it's I should go dig it up. It's in the basement. It's like 50 inches tip to tip. It's really small. Oh, a Ben Pearson BPH 52, I want to say it's called. It's probably a 52-inch bow, really short. I killed a bear with it. I've killed a couple deer with it. Anyway, I picked that up, and you know, here it was. This is post compound years, and I just started shooting at 5 yards. I mean, literally just shooting that recurve at 5 yards in my parents' yard, and then eventually worked my way back to 8, and then worked my way back to 10, and I got good enough that I was like, I'm going to go hunt with it. I did. I killed a deer my first night using that bow hunting, and then I killed a bear a couple years, like 10 years ago now. Just a couple of random things, and got some in the early part of the 2000s. Like I mentioned, I had gotten some pronghorn longbows. I was a big fan of pronghorn, still am. Herb's awesome. Herb does, if you guys know Herb, he's out of Casper, Wyoming, does a great job. I've had many of his bows, but he was the first true custom longbow I had ever gotten, and I had that bow for many years. Killed a couple things with it, and then I just became obsessed with wood bows and longbows and recurves and all the exotic woods that you can make bows out of, and veneers and things of that nature. And I just kept purchasing and collecting, and just you know, creating accumulations, if you would, of different types of bows, you know. And I've had several made by different people, and I just absolutely am in love with wood longbows and recurves. I started competing again. I was always competing around town at local 3D stuff, but never on the big circuit until about 2017, like right around when I got my coaching certification and picked up the Olympic recurve. And I did that because I was struggling with target panic, and the Olympic recurve forces you to go through the clicker motion. The Olympic recurve also forces you to kind of be in the right body position in perfect alignment. And so it teaches you the quality movement. I mean, it's not just flinging arrows. That squirrel's behind me. It's not just flinging arrows. It's very controlled shooting. And putting that clicker on my bow really taught me how to slow down, how to get through the actions of the shot and not just shoot the arrow. It's really going through it methodically. And I started doing that. I did okay in Olympic recurve, but then I decided to go to barebow, and I excelled in barebow. And I don't think I could have done that without going to that first step of shooting Olympic recurve using the clicker. And then even after that, I put some clickers on some of my wood bows, limb mounted clicker, and learned how to shoot correctly with my wood bows, my hunting bows, and all the difference in the world. Night and day difference. And again, picked up the new custom barebow type things. It's the same as an Olympic recurve, just with no sights, no clicker, no stabilizers. And I excelled at it. And so now here we are. And this is what I've been doing for the last, I don't know, 4 years or so, 3 or 4 years, competing on the big circuit, so to speak.
Yeah, that's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I love
from-
archery. I mean, I absolutely
yeah.
love archery. I mean, like I said, I would make it a career if it was a thing, but it's just not, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to make it a career. You know, I've talked to a few professionals, and you know, they're not making money if they're not winning.
No,
And you know,
exactly.
if you get sick, you have no income. You know,
Correct.
you
Yeah.
have to go shoot at all the meets, and you have to do good. And you know,
do.
some people like that. I'd like to just shoot for fun. You know, it's
Right.
when I pull my recurve out, it's mostly just to get ready. I use it for bow fishing. And
Right.
then I have my compound that I use for hunting and
Right.
you know, other target and 3Ds and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
you know, the my mindset changes when I pick up the recurve.
Right.
You know, I'm still using the back tension to pull, you know, just like I learned
Sure.
with the compound, and
Yep.
I use the same grip, the same draw length I'm using on my compound.
Right.
It's just I'm anchoring slightly different. You
Mhm.
know, I anchored
Yep.
corner
Yep.
mouth, index finger, where with
Yep.
my wrist strap, I'm anchoring knuckle behind the jaw, and
Yep.
with my
Gotcha.
handheld, especially the ring finger at that spot. But
Mhm.
it's all the same work. I use the same grip on it.
Right.
You know, so you know, I grab it. It's the same grip I'm using. The only difference is I'm not looking for sights. You know, I'm
Right.
looking at the target. You know,
Sure.
I completely instinctive. I look at the target and then just, you know,
Let it go.
experience, let it go. And, you know, I don't practice it enough to get really good with it.
Right.
You know, I got a friend of mine, she's really good. And I think at them longer ranges, I'd have trouble keeping up with you with my compound.
Yeah.
You know,
There are
well,
some
she's a
really
lot younger.
good.
She can see good. I don't see as
Oh
well out of
yeah.
my right eye anymore. So
Yeah. Good vision
everything's a little
helps, without a
blurry.
doubt.
Yeah. You know, when
No,
you
yeah,
don't see them long distance targets, it's kind of hard to shoot them. So I
oh yeah.
stay, you know, 40 and under just so I can see my targets.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And you know, in the traditional archery world, I mean, most ethical, or you know, people that are rational and reasonable about their shooting, they're keeping it, you know, pretty much under 25, you know. Um, and you just need to be able to have decent vision at distance. You know, you don't have to be,
Yeah,
you know, have an eagle eye or amazing vision. It's helpful for sure, but you know,
right.
it's not the end all.
Yeah, you know, with my compound, I try to set up for 20-yard shots. Most of the time they come in closer than that. But
Exactly.
you know,
Oh yeah.
I shot one deer at 40, and I think only one or two at 20. Everything else has been less than that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, at 5 yards, I shot one at 5 yards.
Yeah.
You know, and 10
I
yards,
think
and
people that really don't have good hunting experience, you know, especially out here in the West, we're told you're going to have longer shots. You will have longer shots, things of that nature. But I see so many guys at the archery range shooting nothing but the 60 to 100 yard range. And they're never at the 20, 30 yard range, like up the up close stuff. And then when it comes down to it, these guys can't shoot at 20, 10, or even 5 yards. I can't tell you how many times during elk season while hunting, we've had elk at just on the other side of a tree. We're talking like right there, like just they're that close sometimes. And with a compound bow, people don't realize like which sight pin do I use when it gets close like that? How do I do that? Or even, guys I know on a regular that I shoot with that shoot all day at these longer distances, and they miss or wound an animal at 20 or less yards because they're just not used to shooting that close.
Right. If they're closer than 10 yards, yeah, pretty much all my pins fit on the kill zone.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter which pin. But
right.
What people don't realize, sometimes I've talked about this a few times on the podcast, but if you're shooting like a 5-yard shot,
mm-hmm.
your 20-yard pin is worthless.
Right.
You need a 60 or 70-yard pin.
You got to use the higher ones. Yeah.
And it's like, well, why do I have to do that? It's like, well, when you think about it, where's the arrow? The arrow is at the corner of your mouth. Where's your sights? Clear it by your eye. You're 3 inches high. So it's something you have to look at. I was shooting, doing some videos shooting into a bag target I have sitting on my ledge in my basement. Well, it's a little bit high. And I know I'm off because I'm probably only about 10 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking, it's like, okay, I got to make sure my bottom pin is still on the bag.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I don't want to stick it at 10 yards or 10 feet, my arrow into a block wall because it's going to bounce back.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are sitting there and she's recording while I'm doing it. And it's like, no, I don't want this coming back at me. The knock is just as dangerous as the point. So you have to think about that at close ranges.
You do.
I know one time I was on a platform at a 3D shoot, and there was a gator 5 feet from the platform. You're raised up, and I knew on mine at that time I had a program. I can't find it anymore. I don't know if it even worked on the new ones, but you could put in all the information and it would tell you, what distance to set, your ranges for. And I actually you set 20 yard, and I just lined the pins up, and they just line up just like they should. But I, at 5 feet, I said I need to use my 70-yard pin. I'm 5 feet away. I'm shooting for 70 yards. Of course, on a platform, I draw up to get my form, and then your form is bend at the waist, not at the arm. So I'm bending, and it gets a little bit harder as you bend down, and I get down there and I pull through my shot and I nail it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, those in 3D, in the 3D world, the 3D tournaments, or even field up close with compound guys, the 5-yard or closer target is the great equalizer, right? So it's the one that if you don't practice, if you don't try and know which pin you're supposed to shoot, those guys struggle, right? And they, some of the other people are killing that little dime size, 12 ring or 11 ring, whichever you're shooting, on the frog, right? But when if you don't know which one you're supposed to use, you could potentially get a 5 or an 8, if you don't really know how to use it. So not only knowing is also doing, right? So spend time practicing at those really close distances, because you'd be surprised in the real hunting situations how close you can get sometimes.
Oh yeah, I've had them walk underneath my tree stand. It's like they're not even 4 feet from my tree stand as they're walking down the trail.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't want you that close. Come in further away.
Right.
Because you can't make the shot because it just you can't. Well, one, you can't bend down far enough. But,
right.
I've had them so close that I've seen the hair change colors as the arrow
sure.
into the hide. I was okay, I know exactly where I hit it because I seen it change colors.
Yep. Yeah, I killed a buck probably about 20 years ago. He literally dead straight down. I think it was the first deer I ever killed. Let me think about this real quick. I think it was the first deer I ever killed. So it had to be more than 20 years ago. It was more like 35 years ago. I forget how long it's been since I just turned 51, and I can't believe that. So he came walking in, and he literally, he was coming in from like, I don't know, my 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and he just came straight at me. And he literally he was right under my tree stand. direct straight down, and I shot right between his shoulder blades. And it's just a shot you never practice. You
Right.
never practice it. You're always thinking something's going to be farther out. And I watched that deer run. So I shot that deer. He ran. He kind of went to my left, and he went several hundred yards. I'm going to say 200 yards out to a field that was, again, so he came in this way and went out that way. And I watched him run. And I remember waiting, and I probably waited at least an hour, because I didn't see him go down. I saw him run. From the tree stand, I was looking. I was just looking for blood from the tree stand. I don't remember seeing any. And by the time I got down and started walking and following this thing out, I started finding blood, but it was not a massive amount of blood. It was not like an ideal blood trail. It was some blood here and there, here and there. And I went out and finally saw that deer in the field. He was laying down, but he wasn't dead. And I had to shoot him again. And that was an hour later. It felt terrible. I mean, it was, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's exciting, but it's all sad at the same time. It's like, you have to put another arrow in this animal and finish it off. What was interesting about that shot is that it was right where I was aiming I shot it with a compound bow. It was straight down, right between the shoulder blades. It exited out the sternum. So, I mean, it was literally straight down, and I probably cut the heart, probably cut some lung or vein, I don't recall, and did not leave an amazing blood trail. And that thing ran quite a ways. And, I don't know if I would have taken that shot again, looking back, but I think because it was my first deer, it was probably like, oh, here's my opportunity,
Yeah.
And I retrieved him. I felt bad having to put another arrow in him. You don't want anything to suffer at any point. That had to be 1990 or 86 or 7. It had to be somewhere in the 80s. If it was my first one. But yeah, so I always recommend, don't just shoot flat, right? Don't just shoot flat ground. It's, especially if you're going to be hunting from a tree stand. Like, if hunting is your primary purpose and you're hunting from a tree stand, shoot out of the tree stand, because the angles change everything too. Right? Angles change everything. Or if you're coming out here to Colorado or somewhere in the West where you're hunting in the mountains, you're never standing on flat ground unless you're at your house or like I'm on my patio. But like when you are in the hills, you're never on flat ground, very rarely on flat ground. Where you find the elk and where you find mule deer, you are in very steep, rocky terrain or steep, grassy terrain or timber. And your shot's going to be uphill, downhill. You might get lucky and have a flat shot, but there's always going to be some variability with your shooting, and it's going to be either your footing or your angle. So I highly recommend shooting on uneven terrain or from a tree stand all the time.
Yeah, and one thing to remember too is your form standing up in perfect position is from the waist up.
Right.
From the waist down, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can be bending at the waist, bending and twisting, whatever you need to do. But that form that you come and draw when you're standing in that perfect position, that gets locked in.
That's right.
And if you start changing it, dropping your arm, I've done that before. I dropped my arm. It's like, how come I can't see nothing? Well, the light of the peep changed, and your everything changes, and you just got to make sure that that's your form. And
that's right.
Sitting down, try shooting kneeling, and the longbow is a little tougher kneeling because they're kind of long. But
so you have to cant or turn the bow.
Right.
That's what actually turned. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. With the compounds, they're a little bit shorter, so you don't have quite that problem. But you still got to, worry about shooting sitting down, and
and you got to be vertical. Your bow has to be vertical.
Right.
When you're shooting a compound, else it doesn't work.
No.
That's kind of Yeah, that's kind of the love or allure for me of the longbow or the recurve, is like you can technically be laying down and shoot the bow, especially in a hunting scenario, right? You can
Right.
be under a tree and leaning forward, or you get the idea. You don't have to be vertical to shoot that bow. That's kind of a nice feature.
I know there was one time I seen this deer bedding down next to the trail, and it was a road the farmers use, and I took my boots off, just my socks, and I snuck all the way up to it. So I was, 5-6 feet away from it. Didn't know I was there, but there was no real cover for me to stand up. There's just grass about a foot tall,
Right.
and I got a compound. I can't shoot it. Crossbow, I could have, because it
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be
yeah.
shot down
Yeah.
low. The compound, no, you can't, like you said, you can't lay them down because one,
No.
the arrow ain't gonna stay,
No,
and two, your pins are gonna be way off.
way off.
And especially mine, I use either a drop away or a two-prong rest. My hunting bow is a two-prong rest. And if you can't that bow very far, that arrow's not gonna stay on there. So
That's
you
right.
got
Yep.
to be pretty much straight up and down. And
Yep.
but the experience of sneaking up on it so close was
Oh yeah. Yeah.
was worth not getting a shot, because I
Oh
was
yeah.
just if there had been a tree or something there, I could
Yeah.
have did it, but
Yeah.
I just kind of waited there for a while, and it finally got up and walked off. And
Yeah. No, I've had good experiences with a compound bow, but the versatility of a longbow or a recurve is to me a little more grand. You can't shoot as far. Maybe you can't shoot as accurately, especially if you don't put the time in and really practice and shoot. Um, there are definite pros and cons to both, without a doubt. I don't hate on one or the other. I'm not. I shot compound, like I said myself. I'm not anti compound bow at all. I'm not super pro longbow or recurve either. But they definitely they have their pros and their cons. I know most people shoot compound bows. It's fine. I don't care. It's just a personal preference.
yeah, it's all just what do you want to shoot? And
Yeah.
that's one of the questions, when I get people interested in archery that haven't shot before. It's like one of the first things I'm going to ask is, what do you want to do with it?
Right.
Where you plan on taking archery? I just want to shoot in the backyard. I just want to have fun.
Right.
So recurve, nice, because it's just out there. There's nothing to worry about. You teach how to string it and unstring it, and there you go.
There he is.
You're good. You're out there, having fun, really not doing anything.
Yep.
Or maybe you watched, the Hunger Games. That's an old movie,
Right.
but
Yeah.
and you
Had a
you want
huge
to pick
impact
up.
though.
Oh yeah, it did. And the cool part is you can tell that she was taught by Olympic archer.
Oh yeah.
Just in her form. I forget who
Yep.
the Olympic archer was that taught her.
Katuna
how to,
Lorig.
yeah. And you can see, that
Yeah.
this has been professionally trained. It's not just somebody just flinging arrows.
Yep.
You could believe that can hit what she's aiming at, because somebody didn't know anything about archery wouldn't know the difference. But those archers, we can see that this person has got some serious training, and they're picking it up and doing it good. And
right. Yeah, you'd hope they do. You see a lot of stuff on TV and in movies where you're like, you just cringe at, and you're like, no, this person had no formal training. They have no idea what they're doing. And, I'm like, oh, it's hard to watch, Everyone's like, is Hawkeye your favorite Avenger? I'm like, no, not even close. I'm like, I don't know who taught that guy how to shoot.
Yeah, some kid that thought he knew everything. I don't know.
Kid, Hollywood.
Yeah. There's a lot of things in there that's just crazy, what people do. And then you watch some of the YouTube videos of these people shooting, and some of them are actually pretty good shots, but their form is terrible, and you can see.
Oh yeah.
I could tell this person's going to punch the trigger before they even do it. I could just tell that finger's above the trigger. That's not in a nice relaxed state. And I was like, they're going to cram on that trigger, and then they just cram on that trigger. And
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'll say like I'll be even more bold and say it like this. Sorry, I'm just trying to reset my iPad here. Um, I would say any archer that I know at a local level, at a club level shooter, or even just your standard bow hunter um, type of an archer, when it comes to compound bows, most of them punch the trigger. Most of them.
Yep.
People that do more target shooting, that have been on the higher, like maybe go to Vegas, or maybe know how to use a hinge or a thumb button or something along those lines, those people have a little more control. But 9 times out of 10, maybe more, when I watch someone at the archery range that just has a hunting setup, I never see those people all year long. I see some guy come out with his bow and trying to tune his broadheads. They're just punching that trigger like nobody's business. And I'm like, they would be so much of a better shooter if they just calm down and just squeeze through that trigger very gently and just make it a more deliberate shot. But same with traditional shooters. You know, you can tell people who've been trained or who know, and there's people who don't. You know, they're just fling an arrow, their arms flying out like crazy. You know, it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah, you see it, they're shooting their arms way off to the side.
Way
It's
out.
like, okay,
Oh yeah.
why am
Yeah.
I keep shooting left? It's because
Oh
you're
yeah. Oh,
aiming,
yeah.
you're shooting left, you know?
Yeah, their arms go flailing off to the side. I see it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. I run into somebody that you find out they're an archer, and I says, okay, use a wrist strap. And they say, yeah, I'll give you your first lesson for free. Quit pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Huh? They always say, huh?
Yeah.
They're like, how did you know that? Yeah, you're pulling the trigger. I never
Obvious,
seen them
yeah.
shoot before, because 99% of the time I'm correct. They're
Yeah, and
pulling
they're
the
going to be
trigger.
doing it.
And then I go and show them, and then then I'd say, okay, concentrate on the spot, have your finger up, try and move your finger without thinking about it. And they said, yeah, I can do it. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even going to talk to them anymore after that, because
Yeah.
there, they just proved that their mindset is not going to allow me to make the
Correct.
improvement. And,
Right. Yeah.
And I've done it too many times. I've
Yeah.
shortened up people's group. There was one guy that come in when I was working at Bass Pro, and he was grouping at 20 yards, probably 6-inch group.
Right.
Start with his draw length was too long. So I shortened his draw length, fixed his form. By the time he left, he had 1-inch groups.
It's a big difference.
And I had one guy that I taught on, actually he's a member of the group too. He may come in and make a comment too, who knows. But he had, maybe about a 6-inch group. I spent about 45 minutes on a Zoom call with him, and he sent me a picture a few weeks later, 3 arrows touching.
Much better.
Yeah. The correct way of shooting will do it. I had one guy that I sold a brand new bow to. 2 weeks later, he'd never shot a bow till he come in and bought the bow. 2 weeks later, he's got a Robin Hood already.
Nice, very cool. Yeah,
so
very cool.
I quit shooting single spots because I kept wrecking too many arrows.
Right.
You hit that knock.
When I was shooting compound bow, I got pretty good at it. I mean, the thing with compound bows and shooting releases is I now, knowing what I know about archery and how to get through the shot correctly, I truly do not understand how people that shoot compound bows have target panic. It doesn't make sense to me. And this is coming from someone who shot compound bows with mad target panic, insane target panic. But now I know. I just learned, I learned everything on my own, right? So you just learn, you draw, you hold, you pull that trigger, and it goes, right? But no, that's what kind of gives you target panic, right? And now I know, now I know. I've had conversations with very high level compound bow shooters that say, oh, I'm struggling to have target panic. And I'm like, time out. There's no way you should have target panic. You have all these perfect devices to get you through this shot perfectly and without any harm to your mental game. Go really slow through the movement. That's all you got to do. Just if you're using a trigger, sure, put your finger on the trigger, hold your sight on that pin, keep that elbow moving back, and just gently keep touching that trigger. Just keep pressing through it. It'll go. Don't need to punch that thing to make it happen. Just be very gentle with your movements, very slow, very deliberate. It will go. and just hold your pin on. And when that thing surprises you and goes, it'll go. Right?
Right.
Not so easy holding with your fingers. We don't have something that says go, right? You have to talk yourself through that a little differently, right? But with compound bow shooters that say I have target panic, call me. I'll get you through that. I promise. It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense to you either if you're a compound bow shooter shooting a release
No.
and you have target panic.
Pulling the trigger causes target panic.
Yeah, exactly.
And watching the pin
Yes.
also causes target panic because you
Absolutely.
see the pin cross it. What target panic is you see the pin go across the target, you say pull the trigger, you start pulling the trigger,
right.
it moves off and it says, oh, it's off, don't shoot.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that is target panic. That's the
Sure.
only way you're going to target panic. Look at the
Right.
target, ignore the pin, put the pin
Right.
over it. And I use
Absolutely.
on the trigger releases, I put it on the second knuckle back.
Right.
Not the tip, because that's how I shoot my guns.
Uh-huh.
I want it the second knuckle back because I'm going to rest my hand. And now I have a little bit of movement in that finger and it's not going to fire it. I just rest it there, just lock it in, slight little pressure. And as I pull, it's going to go off. And the way I teach what a proper shot, the form of the shot process goes is I always have them go full draw. Your job is to aim. You're never going to pull the trigger. I will pull the trigger when I want to pull the trigger.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, they hit exactly where they were aiming.
Right.
Because all they had to do was aim. And that's
right.
all you got to do is just store energy and aim. That's all you got to do in archery.
That's
Everything
it.
else should be automatic.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And what's funny is I've met Joel Turner many times. I know him well. We talk. I've been to his course here in Colorado when he used to come here and do it at Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear. And one of the things I told him was he asked if people that don't have target panic when they're shooting guns, and I never did. Shooting a bow, yeah, but with a gun, I never did. And it was actually almost the other way around, especially with rifle shooting, long distance rifle shooting, or just rifle shooting in general. I could set up a rifle, and so I know this is not part of your podcast, but it's just a cross reference.
We get into guns all the time.
Yeah, but I could set up a target at 200 yards and put my crosshairs on it with my rifle and just sit there, and I'm squeezing that trigger ever so slowly that nothing's happening, but I have to stop. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna restart, get back in there again, and just keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and nothing's happening. And I stop. Right? So the point I'm trying to make is that I would be so locked on and going through this motion ever so slowly that it wasn't happening, and that's okay. And I tell people that in archery, this is where we switch back over. So I would say people, it's okay that you don't take that shot, right? Draw, hold, get in your anchor. And, if it's not right and that subconscious release doesn't tell you to go, you don't have to go, right? Some people, like you said, spend time aiming, don't stop aiming. They get hung up on that visual and it's just like, go. No, you don't have to go. There is no shot. You don't have to shoot. And so when I switch back and now I think of, okay, how do I shoot a rifle? And how do I shoot my bow the same way? I just tied them together, right? So I go, okay, I make it a little more deliberate, right? And I just talk myself through it, especially a compound bow, especially with a trigger or a thumb release. Doesn't matter what kind of release. You get in there and you just hold and you move that release ever so slowly through that motion just to get it to go. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, so be it. You don't have to punch it or pull it or make it happen. It doesn't have to just happen. It happens when it happens, right? It's not mandatory to shoot the arrow, right? It's not mandatory to punch through that release. Just take your time; it'll happen.
Well, and you see the same thing, in guns when you have one, like in a revolver where you've got the case is still in there. And you've emptied it, and then you get to your round that you're not there, and you react to like it went off. Well, that's your target panic in there, and it should go and click. Like, okay,
Yeah.
You get used to doing that and you just pull through and it goes off when it goes off. You're not
Right.
cramming on the triggers. Even in
Right.
firearms, you don't cram on the triggers.
No.
You're pulling slowly. The difference
Gentle press.
is the fine motor skill is squeezing the trigger because you don't have any fine motor skills trying to aim because you're using
Sure.
big muscles to hold it in place. Where on a bow, your fine motor skills are taken up in trying to hold the bow and aim and keep it all steady. So you don't have any fine motor skill left to pull the trigger.
Pretty
And,
much.
like I said earlier, you should okay, concentrate on the spot. Do not break, concentrate on the spot, make your finger move without thinking about it. You have to think about your finger to make it move. While you're thinking about the trigger, moving the finger, what did you stop doing? Because you're no longer aiming.
That's right.
So what are you going to hit? Whatever you're aiming at. But you don't know what you're aiming at because you stopped aiming.
Right.
And that's it's just all this little process that you learn
Right.
and
Yeah.
I've adapted my teaching style a little bit. It works for me because of it's 20 years taking martial arts. Everything is direct to your target, and the way I teach is a closed stance. But if you have your grip wrong,
Mm-hmm.
or you're doing something wrong in the way you're holding the bow, you're going to hit your arm.
Yeah.
You will hit your arm if your
Oh, yeah.
drawing's too long.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to hit it because you had an open stance. If your grip is wrong, it hits your arm. But if your grip is right and your draw length's right, you won't hit your arm. And that's the disadvantage as well as advantage of shooting the style I do. And I like everything, direct to the target. We learned that in
Sure.
martial arts. If you're going to break
Yeah.
a board, you better go straight square to that
Yep.
board and through that board. If you're
Through it,
off
yep.
at an angle, you're
Might not
probably not
happen,
going to
yeah.
break it. You're going to hurt your
Right.
hand. And the
Right.
same thing with setting up your bow. You want all that force to go between the nock and the tip.
Sure.
That's the maximum amount of force down that shaft, which is going to give you the best speed and your best performance. That's why, how you tie your loop on is very important. There's a way to tie it on so it doesn't want to twist. And then you want the same, if you're going to put a knock point on, a lot of people say, well, you got to put a knock point on. No, you don't. I've tied hundreds of them on and never put a knock point on. But you're not untying my knots. You're
Right.
cutting them off. If you got to change them, you can do a little twisting. That's about it. But you're cutting them off because the way I put them on, they're not coming loose. Now, if you put a knock point on above it, you got to put one below it because you want that loop to be above and below your arrow so the center is right on it.
Yep.
And I proved that one night when a guy come in my store and wanted me to set up his bow to shoot 2 arrows at once. That was before center shot design risers, and it was the stick on rests. So we stuck on two rests, and we got it set up. And using a release, we tried, in the middle, above, below, the front. The only way that worked, the consistent space, was able to get down to like less than an eighth of an inch distance between the arrows on every shot.
Pretty close.
But we had the fletching lined up, so they worked good. And the knot was above the top arrow and below the bottom arrow, and there was a knock point for the second arrow, the main arrow. But that give us the best performance on that and shooting it. And it's one of those things that's he come into the store after we closed because as you can't afford me while I'm open, but that sounds like fun, let's go play. So he come in, we played for about an hour and a half, something like that, and all kinds of different stuff. And he was a motivational speaker and wanted to get the kids' attention, shoot 2 arrows and pop 1 balloon or 2 balloons or whatever it was, and get their attention. And
that is fun.
It was fun, setting it up, doing something like that. And
the knock point is a lesson I learned too late in my archery career. The double knock point makes all the difference in arrow flight. Or like what you're stating, the loop, right? So if you get a D loop, your arrow sitting in that gap between your 2 knots, it's the same concept as if you're shooting with fingers and you have 2 knock points above and below. When you shoot an arrow off a traditional bow or even some of these ILF, target rigs like I shoot, if you don't have that bottom knock, it will kick down hard. and it'll actually slide on the string prior to release. And they've proven this in, you know, these super high slow motion or high speed slow motion cameras, you know, where the nock is sitting on the string, and it hits and it actually kicks down and puts downward pressure on the arrow, on the rest, and it is exacerbated, or it's magnified by not having a second knock point on the bottom. And ever since I started doing that, which unfortunately was not very long ago, I would say under 10 years, you know, your accuracy can suffer because you're just simply not paying attention to a stupid little detail like that. Or maybe just no one told you, or you didn't know, or maybe someone did and you felt like it wasn't correct. But until you really spend time with something like that and test it yourself and see how it makes sense, it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
You know.
And with some of the, you know, the cameras, you know, that they're,
Oh yeah.
this
Oh,
one
God,
has a slow motion mode on it. So
Oh yeah.
it's like, I'm sometime I'm going to try a slow motion and
Yeah.
see what it does. And,
Yeah.
and in the video editor, I can slow things down too, and
Yeah.
and redo them and all kinds of different
Right.
stuff when I
Right.
create my YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I don't edit the podcast. What we say
Yeah.
is what we say.
Yeah. It's just the
goes
way
in
it rolls.
unedited. Yeah, whatever it is, I don't edit it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
No,
when
yeah. Go ahead.
if I happen to hit the stop recording, have to restart it, then I'll bring it up and merge the two
different.
together into one video. But other than that, I don't edit them. It's unfiltered.
Right.
Live show.
Yeah. No. In archery, you know, and whether it's compound bow or you know, longbow or recurve, I always, you know, try to encourage people to do some experimentation with their setup. You know, if one thing I can think of with a compound bow, I'll go two things with a compound bow, is one big one is quiver on or quiver off a bow. Not set up one way and shot the other, but set up to be shot with a quiver on and or set up to be shot with a quiver off. Same with a wooden recurve or longbow. Do I shoot with a quiver on the bow, or do you shoot with a quiver off the bow? There's a lot of debate, right? And you know, and again, it all has its bearing, or some. It's not wrong. It's not wrong to say I'm going to shoot with a quiver on or off the bow, but definitely tune your bow with the quiver on, with arrows in it, you know, and then shoot it and see how it shoots, see how it does, and then tune the bow with the quiver off, shoot it, spend time with it, and see which one is better. And I think in the traditional archery world, I may get some flack for this one. It's well known that people just always shot with a quiver on their bow. It's a pretty standard thing to find a side mount quiver on a wooden longbow or recurve. It's, hey, whatever floats your boat. But for someone who's shot those types of bows in very detailed, specific ways to see how accurate a bow can be, the bow does not do as well with a quiver on the bow. Period. Quote me on that. I'm telling you, I've done the testing, I've done the shooting, and there's a reason why in the target world where we don't have quivers on our bows, right? It's just we need the arrows too, but they're on our hip, right? It's just another weighted system off to the side. And I'll go back to compound, same with stabilizers. Shoot your bow without a stabilizer, shoot your bow with a stabilizer, shoot your bow with a heavier stabilizer than you were shooting, shoot it with a longer one than you were shooting. Mess around with it, you know, play around with it and see how your bow shoots and tunes best so that it works the best for you when you're in those critical times, whether it's hunting or target shooting. You know, we don't shoot stabilizers. Well, in what we do in bare bow and traditional, no stabilizers, but a quiver on the side of your bow is going to drastically change the dynamics of how your bow shoots.
Yeah. Now on my hunting rig, I have a quiver on it, but when I get in a tree stand, I have a receiver that I screw into the tree. So I pull it off the bow and I hook it on, because I don't want the weight. I don't want the arrows in my way. I get one shot And
That's
if
right.
I need a second one, I can reach back and grab my arrows, pull another
That's
one out and
yep.
load it up. So
Yep.
it's not like it's a big deal. And I don't practice with it on
Mhm.
because the only time it's on is when I'm walking in or walking out.
That's right.
Now,
Yeah.
if I get a chance at a shot, I'm still going to take it with the quiver on. But
Right.
lots of times I've got my handheld's in my pocket. I don't even have my release on it. So, when it gets really cold, I use my wrist strap because I need to be able to feel the trigger,
Mhm.
just on the index finger. Well, the handheld one, I need to be able to feel it all over my hands, and if it
Mhm.
hangs on there and it's cold, I don't want to put that cold aluminum on my bare
Oh,
skin
yeah.
because I need to be able to feel the release. So I need,
Yeah.
need to open for the thumb, and open for
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
fingers, and I don't use it clear out on the tip of my fingers. It's buried in my hand because I
Yep.
put the trigger right in that seam
Oh,
where
yeah.
the index and the thumb meet. That's where I put the trigger. I don't have those knobs on them. I take them off.
Okay.
That they
Okay.
don't do any good. I don't need them. I put it right in here, and now as I draw back, as I'm pulling back, it's right in my hand, just
Oh, check
buried
that
really
out.
deep in my hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
You
don't
brought.
like, otherwise you're pulling like the fingers, and it's
Yep.
not as comfortable as getting clear back in there. And with it
Sure.
out this way, you're more apt the tendency to use your thumb to pull the trigger because
Hmm.
that's where the trigger is. If the trigger is clear back here, you can't use your thumb to pull the trigger.
Yep. Gotcha. You got to
There's a
cam
piece
over.
of metal in there. I actually put my thumb on it, and I put pressure on that. That's how I load the trigger, is by putting pressure on the release with my thumb and pull
Got it.
through. Now, if I have to fire it, I can just squeeze my hand and make it go off. But I still pull them through. But if there's one of those like, okay, I gotta go now, and you're in a weird position and you can't go back any further,
Yep.
then I just make a fist and they'll go off. But I just
You
tighten
brought
my
up another.
fist.
You brought up another point about one of the reasons I switched years ago from shooting compound bows to wood bows, and it was the cold. And I get cold hands pretty quick. That's
Yeah.
everything else stays warm. My feet, everything, but my fingers get cold pretty quick. And I recall and remember, the risers. I think my back in the day when I was hunting compound bows, the risers were cast, and they were not these, the aluminum they have today. I think they were cast, and they were cold. The metal was cold, especially if you were out, hunting all day, or you were in the wintertime, those risers got cold. And on top of that, the release, I wanted to wear a glove, and you couldn't wear a glove with the release on, and you couldn't
No.
shoot your bow with a glove on. It was just kind of a, kind of a pain in the ass kind of thing. And I remember going, well, a wood bow, it doesn't get very cold, and I can keep my tab in a glove, curled up. And when I need to shoot, I can just keep my glove, strapped to my leg with a little clip, and then just pull my hand out, and then I have my tab and a wood bow, and it was like, oh, this is almost heavenly in comparison to an aluminum riser.
Yeah.
Um, so it was one of the other reasons for my change.
Well, and on my recurve, I have the no gloves on there, so I don't need a
Yeah.
glove
Oh,
or a
yeah.
tab or anything.
There you go.
And I know
Yeah.
you just keep your fingers. I just need the tips of my fingers out
That's
to
right.
feel it.
Yeah.
I did put a small thin glove on because you can
Hmm.
still feel it through there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And slide it off that way. And
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have a glove,
You don't really see the no glove much anymore. I have some. I have some original ones, like old ones, and then they have a modern version. It's a little spongier. I know they give those to kids. Like they have kids, like when kids go to archery shops to just try
yeah,
out bows, they have them on a lot of the bows where you don't need to worry about a glove or a tab and fumbling with that, because that could get take some getting used to. But the no glove, it's funny you brought that up. I know a lot of bow fisher people use that too. Like, and they put on their bow fishing rigs, and another,
that's
who cares
exactly
if it
why I
gets
have it
wet?
on
Yeah.
mine, because it's set up for bow fishing. And
There you
I
go.
have a glove. It's like I don't want to be out, bow fishing and have the slimy fish and wet, get it on the leather glove. And
There you go. Yep.
the no glove, towel, wipe
It's perfect.
hands, go from the next one, and bring it in, and your hands are wet, wipe it on the towel and go, or your jeans or your shirt or wherever.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Funny. Yeah. Anyone send any questions?
I know, but Robbie said spitting facts.
I don't know what we were talking about, but
Yeah, well, we got a lot of facts
Robbie
we've
is,
been pushing out.
yeah, Robbie will sit there and harass me the whole time. He's been texting me too at the same time, trying to get me to laugh. He's trying to get me to laugh. Ain't working, Robbie. Nice try.
Well,
Robbie's one of our best barebow archers we have in the country right now, and he's going to be probably the best at some point for a very long time because he's a young kid.
well,
He's a young punk.
we're gonna have to get him on the podcast then.
Sure thing.
Yeah. So Robbie,
There
let
you
me
go.
know here. We'll get you on the podcast. You know what? Here we go. We're gonna let's see if I can reply to him. Well, I could. Okay. Something's not working right. I keep bringing up. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to send him a message when we get off here. It's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. No, Robbie's a good kid. He's a top shooter. He won our indoor nationals championship this year, and he just won the outdoor national championships this year. So he's got two of them. And then last year at field, he won the field national championship. So he's got all of them except 3D pretty much. He's won all the national championships that we have. So he's very good, very proficient, very determined. He's a good kid. I don't like to give him too much credit. I can still kick his ass in a fight and in archery. It doesn't matter. And I had a broken wing here, so I can.
Yeah, I just messaged him like, okay, here's the link. Schedule a time. We got to get you on. So
he's a good kid. Well, yeah, get him on. He's a good kid.
Hey, you know what it takes to be on is we got to start talking archery. You know, if you've never
That's right.
shot archery, you know what? Hey, great, we'll be on.
Yeah. No, it's good. These podcasts are good for, especially if people listen to the podcast or they go on your YouTube channel, whatever, and they, whether they want to learn or whether they're advanced and, you know, maybe catch a new clip or something that they've never heard before. That's important. You know, it's important for people to get information, and it's good for people like you to put it out there, you know?
Yeah. Robbie's coming back. He does kick my booty.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good kid. Yeah. Get him on. You'd be entertained by Robbie for sure.
Yeah. It's all good. You know, we get somebody that's thinking about starting an archery. You know what? Hey, perfect. You know, that's why I named it Arch Talk 101, because
there you go. That's
what's the first thing, you know, for beginners, and, you know,
100 level.
help somebody starting out. And, you know, and I've had, you know, people on that have had struggled with stuff, and we work through some of the stuff on the podcast. I'm not opposed to, you know, teaching while we're on the podcast. You know, if we can come up with something that works pretty good. And I know there's some things that I've done, people have said, oh, I never thought about that. That might help. You know, and one of the things I do when my form goes away, it's like, okay, something's not right. I always had a string that I put around my thumb that was my draw length, and I practice shooting that string.
Oh, sure.
And the string, if I'm doing it incorrectly, the string hangs up on my thumb. When I do it correctly, the string launches straight to where my target is.
I see. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
So my form is going straight to my target. Once I get that, it's like, okay, now I shoot the bow, and I'm back on where I need to be.
Gotcha.
You know, it's a way you can practice inside your house. Just you know,
I practice with a rubber
string.
I practice with a rubber tube all the time. I mean, I have a rubber tube that I draw and anchor and shoot, you know, just to kind of ingrain my physical process. The more you do it, the more it becomes natural, right? The idea is to kind of keep that close by. Like, you want to be as natural as you can when you do that shot, you know, even when things sink in mentally. You need to be able to just be as competent as you can unconsciously, you know, if that makes sense. Unconscious competence.
Yeah.
But do you know who your listeners are? Do you have an idea as to what your listeners are made of in terms of compound shooters, traditional archers, who it's comprised of?
That I don't. I know in the group I have all disciplines, from the recurve shooter to the Olympic shooter, to in Olympic style bows, to compounds, to the crossbows, from all over the world. I've
Gotcha.
interviewed people from all over the world.
Well, yeah.
So it's interesting talking to people in different countries and how their archery is the same and how it's different, and the way they do things a little bit different. And
I saw you had a podcast like a couple weeks ago. I think it was a guy from Ireland. I couldn't understand him. Is that where he's from? I honestly couldn't understand him. I had such a hard time. I was like, I can't listen. It was just I was having such a hard time trying to understand what he was saying, and I couldn't do it. And it was yeah. But yes, I know
Scotland.
Scotland. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I had a hard time understanding what he was saying.
Yeah, sometimes the one from England is can be just as hard to understand sometimes too.
Sure.
And there was one time when I was working at the archery store, guy come in from was it Ireland or Scotland, and somebody from United Kingdom, and there they don't shoot bows like we do here. They can't just go out and get them. They're restricted. And and the guy had the most trouble understanding the guy from England.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It was like he had that real strong English accent, and
yeah.
Okay, I got to pay attention. Sometimes I don't like to listen that close.
Yeah.
But when it's one-on-one, then I don't have a whole bunch of other distraction going on, and I can understand him, but it's I got the headphones on that cuts out all the other background noise, so I can understand a little more. But yeah, it's interesting, and people all over the world, and if we have to use Google Translate to talk.
I was gonna say, you need a translator. I know you're speaking English, but you need a translator.
Yeah. There's the people that English wasn't their first language, and sometimes they just don't know the words, and you know what, put it in text, and I'll just use Google Translate, and I'll translate the word, and there's a way of talking
There's
to
a way.
Somebody that don't speak your language. And the phones have translators in them.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
they don't always translate the same, but but it's close enough a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, you can always text it too, and that it's
That's
like,
true
okay,
too,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, here, okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting, you wouldn't get a lot to talk about because you don't have to translate everything, but
Sure.
hey, just type it in, and and I can read it and then translate it, or actually probably translate it and then read it. And I've done that too on somebody that send information, send a text to me, and it's in whatever language they're at. And because my original message was in English, and they responded back in whatever the language was.
Right.
I just copied in, typed it into Google Translate, and I did my response in there, and then put it back in their language, and also posted in English too. So I responded back in their language, and because sometimes if it's not your main language, you don't understand some of the words to translate them, and
that's right. Yeah, I've done that.
It sure beats when I was a kid. It's like, if you didn't know a language, you're out of luck. You might have a book to look through.
Spanish for dummies.
Yeah.
So have you started hunting yet? You're in Nebraska?
Yeah, the season started. I haven't started yet. It's been really hot, and I still got a few things to work on my bow. And
gotcha.
And being the bow tech, my bow's the last that gets worked on. And
yeah, of course. Yeah, my wife and I used to drive to Nebraska before we were competing and just hunting. We used to drive out there every year, multiple times a year, to go hunt turkey and then hunt deer. Because it's not terribly far. It's like 3.5 hours, for me to go to where we used to hunt.
You're in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I'm in Colorado, so it's not.
What part of Colorado?
Fort Collins.
Oh, Fort Collins. Okay.
Yeah. So we would go to. There was a reservoir Stratton. That sound right? Stratton.
I'm not, that don't sound familiar, but
It was right
what-
off the highway, so we would take I-80. No, was it 34? We would take 34 clear out the state into Nebraska, and then, gosh, I could swear it was Stratton Reservoir is where it was. It was west of McCook, but we would hunt over there along that reservoir. We got a few deer. I saw some really nice deer out there over the years. Turkey, of course, and lots of turkey. But it's public land. You'd go and walk to your tree stand, and someone would be like just within 100 yards of you, and you'd see them. And what do you do? I kind of got tired of that. You looking for it on the map there?
there's Swanson Reservoir.
Swanson. Thank you. That's it. Swanson.
I know it. Okay, reservoir is near McCook, because that at least give me a city to look for it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, Swanson.
Yeah, we'd hunt over there. And again, like, we'd see plenty of deer. I mean, just in the one small spots that, a couple of small spots we'd hunt in. And again, public land hunting, you'd see people, but honestly, the thing that chased us away more than anything were the bugs. The ticks were brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh, the ticks would be covered in ticks, or mosquitoes in the springtime. But during the fall, the hunting season, it was, it got cold, it got frosty, and I killed a couple deer over there, nothing crazy. But that was a pretty neat place. I know a lot of people that hunt in McCook. They go to McCook to hunt whitetails and turkey and stuff. And I guess that's good hunting over there too.
Yeah, there's
I don't know.
some pretty good hunting in different areas around here. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of looking it up. It's a pretty good sized lake. They're off.
It's
Highway
huge. It's
34.
really big. Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
really big. It's a really big lake.
and there's a lot of nice land around it too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of deer in that area. We just don't go out there anymore. Like for what it costs for a deer tag and how much time it takes, and just to go out there. And it's not terrible, but you get a hotel room, or we'd camp overnight sometimes. And
Yeah,
just to hunt for one full day and then one morning and then come home. And I just kind of got like, I'd rather go somewhere where I can spend a couple nights and a couple days hunting and
yeah,
put some nice time in.
it's a nice lake.
Yeah.
I don't know how far it is from me, but it's out by Trenton, Nebraska. But
Right. It's really easy to get to from here, which is cool. It's essentially one road all the way out there.
oh yeah, it's 4-hour drive for me out
Well,
there.
it's farther for you, and you're in the state.
Yeah, because it's let's see, trying to find Fort Collins, but yeah, Denver is actually closer to it than I am.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah,
But I don't have to pay out of state license though.
yeah, that's true. And that's the other thing. Like, same with turkey. I'm like, I'm gonna pay $120 to go hunt a turkey. Like, I get it, it's fun, but like $120 to go out there and shoot a turkey. I'm like, no. And we have turkey here in the state, but they're really hard to hunt here. The turkeys here are hard to hunt if you're not using a shotgun.
Oh,
We have parts of the state that have huge quantities of turkey, like the southern part. I shot a turkey down there, a recurve, going back like 8 years ago. And that was in, oh gosh. oh, way south in the state. But anyway, point I'm trying to make is there were turkey everywhere down there. Like in the southern part of Colorado, we have huge flocks of turkey. In the northern part, we have a bunch up here in Fort Collins, but you can't hunt them. They're all on city ground.
Oh yeah, we have a pretty good sized flock that's not too far from me that I see all the time, and
Oh yeah.
probably about 3 dozen of them that's in
Oh
this
yeah, that's a
flock that
good
we
number.
see once in a while.
Yeah, it's a good number.
And yeah, good number, but where I see them most of the time, I can't hunt.
Can't get them. Yeah.
Yeah, I can get to them. It's just I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
you can't
permission to
hunt
hunt the property.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I do have permission to cross the highway. They do come over there, but
hmm Do you hunt public land or private land, or what do you usually
I got
do?
private land. I got a couple
Okay.
properties that's private. I think probably some of the public lands are probably have more deer on it.
Mhm.
Where it's mostly fields, and the
Yeah.
only tree line is right along the edge. The one
Uh-huh.
property is along the river, or there's a creek run through there. Across the river or the creek, as where all the trees are at, but we can't hunt there because somebody else has got permission to hunt there, and
Right,
because
right.
we asked the farmer, and he said, "No, I got somebody back there hunting," and like, oh, okay. And the other property is mostly just eat right this year. I think it's corn and alfalfa, and then there's just the road trees around the property, and they kind of travel through at night most of the time. So I gotta
Right.
try and put up a lick or something, so they maybe trying to get
There
them
you go.
come during the day.
Sure. Yeah. I guess during the rut, you never know. You can find animals from anywhere. They can come
Oh
from
yeah,
miles away, just that's kind of, I guess, the benefit of hunting the whitetail rut. You never know what you're going to see.
yeah,
But,
yeah. It's
yeah, we have nothing, but we don't have private land access out here. I mean, I don't. In Colorado, it's very, very difficult to hunt public land. I mean, you see way more hunters than you do animals. And believe it or not, you see them. They're not even resident hunters. They're people from other states. Which is good for them. It's not uncommon. That I see people from clear out New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, you name the state, they're here. And you just see people from absolutely everywhere. And it's you're either going way far back to hunt, but everyone else is in the same mode. They're like, we got to get away from everybody else. So they just go farther back, or, and next thing you know, you see people everywhere. You bugle in another person, and they bugle you in, it's like, it's this craziness, but you can find some pockets where you don't find a lot of people, but it's getting more and more rare. So what my wife and I do, we try to just save points, because we're on a point system out here. Deer are 100% point. You have to have points for deer tag. They don't have over-the-counter deer tags, but they do have over-the-counter elk tags here. So what we try to do is wait every 3 years to get at least 3 points. You can hunt a decent unit with 3 points, where they might offer only 100 tags. And in those units where there's 100 tags, you might not see a person. That's pretty good. The last time we hunted with 3 points, where we saw one guy on opening morning, and he was coming out because his buddy got altitude sickness, and they were like, yeah, we're leaving. He didn't feel good, and we're heading out. And then we never saw another hunter until muzzleloader season opened up, where they, typically those areas, they'll offer the same amount of archery tags, muzzleloader tags, as they do archery. So another 100 people, but that really gets screwed up because our muzzleloader season is at the prime, like when the elk are truly bugling a lot and they're active. Our muzzleloader season falls right in the middle of that, and it's during our bow hunting season. So we have a 1 month long bow hunting season with 10 days of muzzleloader thrown right in the middle of it. And so it kind of makes it hard, because one gunshot, those elk are gone. I mean, they're gone.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We were watching a herd of elk across a canyon a couple years ago, and we were trying to make a play to go the next day down this canyon and then up to that other side. And we're just watching, and during the muzzleloader season, and way down the valley, we were up quite a ways, like 12,000 feet plus. and we can see some muzzleloader hunters come in from down the valley, and they must have shot a deer or something down low, and we watched that whole herd of elk just run and went clear over a pass into another unit. And I'm like, well, I guess we're not going to see those elk. But it's a funny thing, like, you know, one gunshot and it just sends animals just sprawling in all different directions. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to hunt among the muzzleloader hunters out here. So it's either you're going to be part of the, you know, you either fight the tide or you go with it, right? So it's like I've kind of also considered, you know, with my wife, I'm like, well, maybe we should get a muzzleloader tag and hunt the muzzleloader season because it's typically the best time.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, no, we're true bow hunters at heart, you know, we're not gonna not gonna, you know, take that route. So we just suffer through it, so to speak, and not against muzzleloader hunters at all, you know, so be it. That's your thing, that's your thing. It's just unfortunate for us as bow hunters that it falls right in the middle of our season.
Yeah, right now, you know, in Nebraska, they give the rifle season the rut.
Oh
And
yeah.
you know, one year they shifted it back a week when I was at the check station, and we checked in a lot of nice bucks that week. And then of course all the rifle hunters complained, and then they moved it back.
So
You know,
when does
'cause
the rifle season fall in Nebraska? What's the
second
date?
week in second week in
Oh, okay.
November for 10
Gotcha.
days. Starts on a
Yeah.
Saturday and ends the following Sunday.
Gotcha.
And now it used to be you had to stop archery hunting during that time. Now you can continue archery hunting.
Right.
You just have to
You
wear
just have to wear
orange during
orange.
that time. Yeah.
Right.
Because there are some places that you can't shoot a gun.
Right.
You know, there's a one of the state parks that I hunt in, and you know, you can use shotguns or archery. No rifles
Yep.
are allowed there. So if you want to hunt there during the rifle season, you just grab your bow and go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's gosh, I'm trying to remember when I lived in New York, I never really hunted New York. We hunted New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I remember New Jersey, we had an early bow season, which started, I think it was like second week of September. So like when most, and then it went for like a month or 6 weeks. And then they had a late bow season, which started in October through November. And then they had a winter archery season, which went till February, if I'm not mistaken. And thrown in there, they had a shotgun season, which was around Christmas time, if I remember correctly. And they had a muzzleloader season, which again, these things all had their own week. But you can always downgrade your weapon, right? So if it's rifle season, you want to hunt with a bow, go for it. You know what I mean? Like you're downgrading your weapon, so to speak. So you can always hunt with a bow. But again, I'm sure that that's changed over the years. I'm meaning the dates and what they can use. But I know back in New Jersey, back in the day, you weren't allowed to use a rifle at all in the whole state. I don't know if that's still fact or true. But you had to shoot. It was shotgun only. The whole state was shotgun only, and muzzleloader.
Iowa was that way too, and then they took one county, put rifle in it. Now I think, last I heard, somebody said that you can use rifles now, but Iowa used to be all shotgun.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Robbie would be able to tell you. Robbie lives in Iowa. Corn-fed.
Yeah, Robbie, if you're listening, is there any rifle season in Iowa? Maybe he'll comment. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I've never really hunted other states. Michigan, New York, New Jersey. I've hunted all those states. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Nebraska, of course, Colorado, Texas, Arizona, Wyoming. I'm trying to think. I know I'm missing something. Texas is fun. I mean, hunting hogs in Texas is a blast. I have a group of guys I used to go with quite a bit, and I haven't been able to do that with competing in target archery because they usually go the weekend I'm in Vegas or the week I'm in Vegas hunting or shooting that. But that January, February time, February seems to be when everybody goes to Texas to hunt hogs, and that's a blast. If you've never done it, I don't
Yeah.
care who's listening. It is the most fun hunt. I don't mean just sitting on a bait. I mean like going out and do real spot and stalk on feral hogs, find a good property. It is so much fun. You see so much stuff. Last time I went out, I saw a mountain lion. It's rare you see a mountain lion in Texas, but I saw a mountain lion. You see all kinds of other little critters and creatures. Texas has everything. Aoudad, all these other, odd species of animals. You see all kinds of stuff. I always recommend going to Texas to hunt, or South Texas to hunt javelina. Same kind of concept. If you've never done it, go do it. It's a blast. Javelina don't have very good eyesight. They have good noses, but you can kind of walk right up to them. You can stalk up on them pretty close. But you got to go where there's some good populations of animals too, But you see some cool. Texas has some cool hunting. It's got some cool stuff, and
Yeah.
I mean, we found fossils there. We found pottery, like all kinds of crazy stuff. Texas has got some. I would love to live in a place like Texas where you can hunt pigs all year long. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went on, I got a javelina when I was down in Texas, went on a hog hunt, and I was able to get a javelina, and I thought it was good meat, it tastes like pork.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know?
I guess. Yeah. If you season it.
Yeah. Everybody thought it was so bad. I didn't think anything wrong with it.
Right.
And so I've hunted Texas, Nebraska, and Ontario.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to
Moose
Canada
hunt-
twice. Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
moose hunting up in Ontario.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Wait, did
Moose-
you get a moose?
Yeah. Got a cow
Oh, very
moose.
cool.
Oh
Okay.
man, that best meat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I
It-
know.
It's there's nothing better than moose that
Yeah.
I've had anyway.
I had moose this year. Mike Davenport. You know who Mike Davenport is? Michael Davenport. I think he brought some moose to an event I was at this year. Moose is really good. Moose is something else. Like it's pretty good meat. I've never hunted moose. That's my dream hunt. We have the Shiras moose, and again, it's a lottery system. You'll need 20 plus years of applying to get that tag. I have like 11 or 12. So yeah, I mean, randomly, it's you see those people that can draw it with 4 points, 5 points. It happens, but not likely. But we have plenty of moose out here, and they're not hard to get to. But so it's my dream thing. I have some collector's items, bows, made by John Schultz and Dean Torges. If anyone knows those names, just they're real true collector's items. These guys are since passed, guy who Howard Hill taught, and just world-renowned self-bowyers. And I have some of their stuff I would love to take on a moose hunt. It would be really pretty sweet to, get a moose with something like that. But yeah, I probably have another 10 more years of applying. So I'll probably be like in my 60s when I draw that tag.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, much later than that, and it's like, okay, do I really want to traipse around the mountains anymore?
Right. Exactly right. Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at,
Yeah. Pick and choose your days.
Right.
or your species, right?
Yeah, something I don't have to do a lot of walking to, and
Yep, there you go.
As you get older, you don't want to do all that extra walking if you don't have to, and hauling them out. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm not strong enough to haul this out anymore. I need some help.
Yeah,
I need
and
block
some
and
animals.
tackle.
Yeah, and a couple horses.
Yeah. Or at least load it onto the back of the four-wheeler,
There you go. Yep.
Well, it's been great talking with you.
Yeah, likewise.
And Robbie's made some comments, and we'll have to get him on a podcast and chat with him for a while. And
of course,
yeah, that'd be fun.
Yep, absolutely.
I always have fun talking archery, and it's just so much fun.
No, I appreciate you having me on and chat and getting to know you a bit. And yeah, we can stay in touch and maybe do this again another time too.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to having people on a second time.
There you go.
There's things change, and we just come in and chat, and just got to get on my schedule.
There you go.
If you got the link to it, schedule the time
Yeah,
and come
they're
back on.
scheduling on. There you go. Yeah, well,
Well,
cool. Well, enjoy
what are
your
your
season this year. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah? What are your parting thoughts for the night?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know that many. I don't know. I always just tell people to practice smart. Don't practice hard. Don't practice stupid. Just every shot you take with archery, just make it deliberate. Like don't just fling an arrow, and don't get mad. Um, you know, a calm head and heart is very important in archery. Like you have to be very patient. You have to be very, very patient with yourself and the sport. It's not easy. And there's a reason we do it. And it's because it's hard to perfect. Right. And
Right, it
we're
is.
shooters. If you're a true shooter, you're trying to perfect this game, right? You want to do it as best you can. And it's really difficult to do. And so if you're gonna do that, you have to be calm in your head and
Right.
calm in your heart. Yep.
Yeah, you can't do this if you're stressed or thinking of anything else, because you just focus and you get out there, and if you learn how to do it, it's like everything just goes away, and
That's right.
you're just focusing on one thing.
That's
Storing
right.
energy in the bow and aiming.
That's right.
Store energy, aim. Store
There you
energy,
go.
aim. Think of
That's
nothing
it.
else.
That's it. Nothing else.
That's it. Well, I'd like to thank you for being on, and our listeners and watchers like to thank you for spending this time with us. And you can catch the video on the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group or on my YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description on how to get to some of those. And also the audio is available on wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Like Spotify, and I think the Apple ones, there's a Google one and something I forget all of them. I just post it out there and it sends them all out for me. And then I'm also on Audible, so you can get out there and listen to it on Audible as well. It's free, not like a lot of the books. This is a free one. So
Very cool.
it's been a lot of fun talking with you, and
Likewise, thank you.
And I'm sure we'll connect again, and if nothing
Absolutely.
else, we'll connect in the group or something. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. My name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Arch Talk 101, and we'll see you on the next one.